Hey, thanks for joining me today. It is Monday, January 18th. Happy MLK Day. Flame on. I did want to thank everyone. I asked for 100 likes on the last video that I put out, and we did it. We reached that goal. So that was a success. But today, I want to talk to you about the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now, this is a federal holiday. Banks are closed. Often, people will do a day of service or do some volunteering on this day. I have in the past done that. Today, I'm choosing to go for a hike instead. I don't really want to go somewhere and wear a mask for hours. So it's a lovely day here in Portland, so I'm going to take a hike. It's going to be great. But I wanted to talk about MLK and whether or not he is still relevant. Now, as a child of the 80s, of the 70s, as a kid, I learned a little bit about MLK. We were taught in school he was a good guy and he pushed for things. The two most famous things of MLK, to me, was that he was for nonviolent protest, nonviolent, and that you should not judge people on the color of their skin. Those were the two biggies for MLK. He had a lot of other things to say and do. Like any human being, he was a flawed man. But we're not talking about that today. We're just talking about some of the positive things about MLK. And I always looked up to him for those beliefs. I still, in 2021, believe that nonviolent protest is the best way to protest. I think that it's the most efficient, and I'm a pragmatist. I think that you should do what works. Right? And I also do not want to judge people by their skin color or anything else that they had nothing to do with. If they had nothing to do with it, I don't want to judge them on that basis. But I live here in Portland, and I do a lot of stuff in the arts. I do a lot of things with some really left-wing people that I would say might be extreme left-wing people that maybe even the majority of Portlanders aren't even aware of, okay? And I have noticed over the past number of years that some people will say some pretty disparaging things about MLK and that they do not hold him up to be the liberal icon that they would like him to be. And that's interesting. Now, I don't agree with that. I think that nonviolent protest is the best, but you've seen, at least over the past year, while most of the protests were peaceful, there was a lot of violence in them, and for the most part, that violence was not condemned by many of the leaders in our country, especially on the left. They did not condemn the violence, and they almost excused it. And this seems contrary to what Dr. King talked about. The other thing is just about judging people based on characteristics that they have nothing to do with, such as the color of their skin. I've seen a lot of people on the extreme left that have made comments that that is the first thing that we should look at when we see someone, and we should identify everyone based on these characteristics that they can't control. You don't choose who your parents are. At least I didn't, right? So I've seen a lot of this on the extreme left that is contrary to MLK, and I wonder if he will have the legacy that he should have, which is I think that he should be admired for these things, for what he did for civil rights, I thought is very heroic. And that's the way that I would like to see him remembered. Will he be remembered that way? Well, I think it depends on who writes the history books and who is teaching history. Are they going to teach that MLK was a good man that had great ideas such as nonviolence and not judging people on the color of their skin? Or will that be passé? I don't know. I can't predict the future. And today, what I wanted to do is just share some quotes from MLK with you. I just picked 10 quotes that I thought were appropriate. So let's get to those now. Now, the most famous of these quotes, I'm sure you know this one, is, quote, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. True peace is not merely the absence of tension, it is the presence of justice. Let no man pull you so low as to hate him. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you have to do to keep moving forward. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of convenience and comfort, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Violence is immoral because it thrives on hatred rather than love. Violence ends up defeating itself. It creates bitterness in the survivors and brutality in the destroyers. Hate is too great a burden to bear. I have decided to love. I know that love is ultimately the only answer to mankind's problems. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope." And those are just 10 quotes from MLK that I wanted to share with you today. Do you have a favorite quote from Dr. Martin Luther King? Let me know in the comments. Be sure to hit that like button. Let's go for 100 likes again. And have an awesome day. Peace.